Hello, viewers. Thank you very much for joining again on another session, an exciting session today, the Wizards of Automation. We have with us Ganesh, who is the co-founder of Graminer, the data science and an analytics provider, globally renowned. We're going to have a lot of key takeaways from this session. So welcome, Ganesh. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Uday. Thanks for having me.
Ganesh and his company figure by the Financial Times in the top 100 companies in India, which is extremely exciting. So congratulations, Ganesh, on that accomplishment. And I'm sure the viewers would love to hear from you. What are your growth plans? What's your vision for India, for Asia Pacific, and for the globe?
Sure. Yeah. Thank you. So I'll start with a quick introduction, Uday. Graminer, we help organizations get value from data. We call it insights as stories. There are two things we do extremely well. Data analytics, where we bring in machine learning, AI to get the best insights from data. And second, we do data storytelling, converting those insights into engaging stories. So using both of these as levers for unlocking business value is something that we help organizations with. And we work alongside the organizational client teams to improve their data maturity so that they can progressively get more value from data. So that's a brief on what we do, and we are based out of the US, India, and Singapore. Data science, we are in an exciting time. So the industry is growing very rapidly. So everyone wants a slice of the action, and there are organizations who are looking to use data for strategic differentiation. So that way we are in a great time period. And now there is also a lot of consolidation happening within the industry. Late last year, we saw some big ticket acquisitions, Salesforce acquiring Tableau, and there were so many other companies being acquired. And the reality is that the market is very overcrowded, and there are a lot of small, mid-sized organizations which have grown in the last 5 to 10 years. And a lot of consolidation is due. And if you look at the trends, there are 3 key trends that I see coming in the coming years. Number one, we will have some of these large data science platforms and tools doing a consolidation. So if you look at it, there are large machine learning players today, large visualization players today. There is no one single company which provides the complete end-to-end data value chain coverage. For instance, from acquiring the data, doing the transformation and cleaning part of it, and machine learning and visualization, and also helping organizations continuously mature with data. So the end-to-end value chain is not covered. There's no one single tool or platform that can do all of it. So that consolidation we will see. Already we are seeing machine learning players buying the data preparation companies, and there are visualization companies buying other adjacent companies. So we will see that consolidation. That's one segment. We'll have 4 or 5 very big players emerging in the tools and platforms. The second trend in terms of the companies is there will be some very large services players with scale which will emerge. Today, if you look at it, there are great tools out there, but most companies have challenges in implementing them for their own organization. So that's where solutions and services is a big need in the industry. And today, if you look at it, there are no large organizations or SIs like you have in the technology space traditionally, who can do transformational deals like $100 million or $1 billion upwards, purely from data-driven transformations. So that scale and size for services and solution players is a second area which will emerge. And third, we will continue to have boutique firms who are domain deep and who provide the complete workflow for one business area. For example, clinical trial analytics, or if you look at, there are several other horizontal areas as well. So that is a third area where we'll continue to see some boutique firms, but they will become more stronger, and they will cover all aspects of that particular business line. So we'll have these 3 players emerging, and I think we will see a lot more acquisitions and partnerships in the coming years.
Ganesh, share with us more about your product line and your sweet spots.
With regards to our product line, we provide coverage in 3 critical areas for businesses. Number one, identifying which projects or where to start to get value from data. building a roadmap. We have our advisory practice, which comes in and helps organizations identify the right projects, which are short-term, mid-term, and strategic focus for them. And second is implementation of those solutions. So after we identify certain projects, helping organizations and hand-holding them with the implementation by bringing in the right set of skills for machine learning, for data visualization, and end-to-end packaging that into a solution which can be used by the end users. So implementation is the second area. And third and most important one is adoption of the solutions. A lot of organizations don't focus enough on that. So we help do the change management and make sure that organizations get business ROI from whatever money they put into the projects. So these three areas we cover in our offerings.
Today, organizations want to embark on the journey to embrace automation as well as emerging technologies. Clients today want, at the very first go, recommendations that incorporate all of these technologies in automating their processes. And I know that Gramina certainly has made huge strides in this area. So can you sort of share, during discovery and due diligence, how does one ensure that you cover all aspects and you look at it from multiple lenses?
Right, sure. That's a great question in terms of how do you bring together all of these technologies and importantly, making sure that it addresses a pain area. So as part of the discovery phase, when we get started, we always advise organizations to look at the biggest business needs. What are the challenges they are facing? Rather than looking at it as, say, RPA implementation or AI or, say, mixed reality. So all of these are cool, nice technologies to have. But what business problem has to be solved first? What are the challenges that the business team's facing? So if we identify what is the pain point, that's the first starting area. And a second thing is to align the focus, align the initiatives with the organizational strategy. So McKinsey found that only 30% of the data science strategies are aligned with organizational strategies, which is a pretty low number, given the millions being put into the industry as investment. If only 30% is in the same direction as what the company wants to do, then you're talking about 70%, which is wasted budget. So starting with the organizational strategy, alignment with that, and looking at the business problems, and then finding out what is the best technology which can solve those challenges. You could have a combination of, for example, RPA to come in and automate some of those processes. And then you can bring in analytics as a layer on top of that. That once you have some of these this automation benefits realized, what else can we do to get the next level of efficiency? So you bring together a suite of technologies, but after you identify the business problem and the roadmap that you chart where you want to go for the next 6 months to 1 year. I think that is a very good starting point with emerging technologies. Don't start with the technology, start with the business problem and align it with the organizational strategy.
Do you sort of analyze all of these processes to be able to embrace all these different technologies at the very first go? Or would your recommendation be that, okay, do it phase-wise?
A phase-wise approach would be best. With each of these technologies, one, there is a level of investment needed, there's a level of technology familiarity required, and there's also change management. Every time you come up with some automation, you need to roll it out by modifying the organizational process. So phase-wise would work best rather than trying to digest too many things at once. Pick up, like the example you mentioned, maybe say pick up some bots and pick up some processes to automate first. And then do a thin layer of other technologies on top of that. And then once you realize those benefits, then you can go step by step.
Yes, the other sweet spot, of your organization has always been analytics and dashboarding. So could you just sort of throw some light on the use cases?
Yeah, I'll share two examples, and there I'll talk through what are the pain points we addressed and what is a unique aspect of the solution. First is with a large technology manufacturer, one of the largest technology devices manufacturer in the world. We help them improve customer satisfaction. We first identified which are the areas to listen to the customer, variety of voice of customer, survey programs, social listening, and identifying those sources where you can collect the signals about the customer. And second, using machine learning and using AI language models. A lot of these signals were text-based signals, where customer comments, the way they type into the customer feedback surveys or tweets from social media. So identifying insights and what the customer really wants by analyzing the text. So for that, we used the AI language models and machine learning techniques. So that was second stage, to identify what is actually pulling down the customer experience and which area should the organization focus on. Should they put more effort into product aspects, into the marketing, into customer service? So identifying those priority areas. And then the third one is presenting those insights as data stories, where you combine and make the insights consumable. So for different classes of users, different hierarchies and different departments, we came up with role-based data science application solutions, where they were able to come in and exactly find out what was their pain point. And if there was a dip in the NPS score, Net Promoter Score, which was how the customer was measuring the satisfaction, identifying what led to a dip in NPS scores. So all of that are told as stories, which are easily relatable. And that becomes the basis for taking a decision. So that way, the end-to-end flow we were able to cover. And this was a purpose-built solution for this client. So that way, over the last 2 years, we've seen that there has been a steady improvement in NPS score, over 6 to 7 percentage points. And incremental revenue from the customer has been over $50 million. Thanks to this program. So that way, that is a kind of benefits which organizations can realize. So this is one example in customer experience, where we brought together analytics and data storytelling visualization. A second example is from logistics and supply chain. We worked with one of the largest US players in this area, logistics and warehouse player. And the challenge they had was identifying the right ways to schedule the appointments so that they're able to bring down the turnaround times to a minimum, so that they're able to quickly move it and serve the customers faster. And so for that, we used again a combination of forecasting and prediction solution to identify which slot should I schedule for the lowest turn time. And more recently, with COVID and the current situation, there was a lot of spike in demand from, say, certain retailers, or there are certain cases where there was a huge dip in demand. So we built a solution, a business resilience solution also to add on to that, so that they're able to make use of it during this time to manage the demand and better prepare for it. So here again, a combination of deep analytics, a combination of machine learning techniques, and dashboarding and visualization storytelling to make it easier for the managers who take the decision, so that they can, whether it is in terms of planning for the workforce or planning appointments for the customers, it was very seamless. And they were able to achieve like 15 to 16% of reduction in turnaround times.
Let me switch gears. To get the best return on investment on any automation or artificial intelligence project, you certainly need to have seamless and synergistic collaborative effort between the business and IT. What are your views?
Great question, Uday. And that's the elephant in the room, right? So we have different stakeholders who really owns and drives it. Another interesting statistic from McKinsey is that organizational design is one of the challenges why less than 20% of the organizations are able to scale their analytics practices. There's a lot of POCs and first, second projects happening in this area. But when we talk about scale, I think that was also your question, where if you want to do it organization-wide, how do you scale it and how do you drive and how do you structure it? A lot of organizations go to either extremes. One, they try to centralize all of it and say that, okay, there's a central analytics or a central IT function which will own all data efforts. While that brings in clarity of ownership, but it leads to silos, and there is when the ownership is not equally split with the business, it could lead to suboptimal results. The business alignment might be missing. On the other extreme, when it is completely decentralized, there are a lot of organizations, they move it fully to the business function and say, we will have full control. The first or second project might work out well, but beyond that, it doesn't scale. It leads to inefficiencies. So either of these is not a solution. And what we have seen in our 10 years experience is that a hub and spoke model works beautifully. So you have a central hub, which is analytics, and a technology hub, which sets the analytics strategy, brings in the skills, and sets the tone for analytics within the entire organization. In terms of the projects, it is executed closer to the spoke. The spokes are the businesses or the market-facing units. They are so they own and drive the initiatives. So the teams are placed closer to the spokes, to the businesses, and a business leader drives it with full ownership. So that way they get the best of both worlds. One is closer to the market and very good alignment between technology and business teams within this agile dynamic team which has been formed. At the same time, getting the best practices across the organization and support from the central hub. So that we have seen works extremely well. And that's the kind of structure we internally follow at Gramner, given our different business lines and analytics and data science capabilities we have. We've seen that well. And even for large organizations, this can scale very well. When you go from 10 to 100 to 1,000 people for value from data, it can work well.
So would you like to share some 3 or 4 key areas of focus or lessons or pitfalls that one really shouldn't get into when embarking on data science projects?
That's another timely question. Gartner says that over 80% of data science projects in the industry fail. That's a pretty staggering number. And if you look at why so many projects fail, despite the interest and support, there are 3 biggest challenges which we have seen repeatedly across organizations. Number 1, a failure to pick the right business problem. We talked earlier about the discovery phase and how you have to start with the business problem and not the technology solution. So that is something which a lot of companies miss. If you look at how typically these initiatives get started, there is a budget set aside for data science. Then they start going around the organization looking for problems. Instead, it has to start with a need and then find out what technology can solve it. Do you need statistics? Do you need simple reporting, simple descriptive analysis, or do you need AI for it? So we have to flip the order and start with the business problem that can take care of a lot of these challenges. The second challenge is not having the right set of skills to execute the engagement. A lot of people assume by mistake that having data scientists in the organization is sufficient, or you put your team through a week-long data visualization training. They expect that storytelling capability exists now. So we have seen that there are 5 skills needed to make a data science team successful. So you need the domain skills, you need statistics, machine learning, you need visualization, storytelling, you need deep programming and the DevOps skills, and finally you need project management. So data science needs to bring in all of these skills. Only then the execution will be successful. Otherwise, there will be some problem or the other. If you miss even one of these skills, it could lead to problems downstream. The third challenge is more about adoption of the solutions. And I often tell that the biggest battles to be fought are after your project goes live. There's a lot of focus initially, naturally, but once your project goes live, that's when you will have to convince the users, bring about change management, and improve the data literacy of the users so that they can consume it. And leadership has to play a key role in terms of setting example and driving this and making sure it becomes a habit, like data-driven decision making should become a habit. So adoption is a very important stage where organizations kind of lose the focus. So these 3, starting it right with a business problem, bringing in the right set of skills, all the skills to execute. And thirdly, looking at adoption and giving it equal, if not more importance. I think those 3 are key to ensure success.
Thank you. This is very, very helpful, very informative. Thank you very, very much. I'm very, very keen to know, Ganesh, as to how did you come up with the name Gramner and what was the story behind that?
Okay. This is a popular question. What is the origin for the name? Is it Indian or is it from some other language? So this
In
is
fact,
very
I
much.
thought it was German or a Dutch name.
Yeah, you're not mistaken. I think that's German. In fact, is a common guess. You'd be surprised. So we actually started with a slightly different focus area, and that led to this name. So we had two focus areas initially, which was rural entrepreneurship and energy analytics. So Grameen and Energy. So very much an Indian name. Grameen Energy put together as Gramna. And eventually we pivoted, and energy analytics became fully analytics and visualization. And that's where we saw a lot of industry need and a growth coming in. So that way we pivoted, but the name has been memorable, and it's been good.
Brilliant. This is very insightful. Thank you very much, Ganesh, for taking time out from your very busy schedules and talking to us today. Thank you very much for sharing all of your inputs. It's been great key takeaways for all of us here who are viewing this program. And finally, I want to really thank you and congratulate you for all the great success to come in the future. So thank you, Ganesh. Thank you to the Grameener team. And certainly, as the name of the organization is, you all are very deeply rooted and making India the automation capital of the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Uday. It's been a pleasure talking to you, and thanks for having me, and thanks for doing this. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much.